citizen journalist, citizen lawyer, fighting in self-imposed political exile, fighting for New Zealand over from the shores of Thailand. I just want to make a 10-minute video. Now, I promise this is going to be a 10-minute video, so I have to move absolutely fast to get this video. We're going to talk about the COP28 and the scam of the COP28. Now, I just did see a message about the COP28 a couple of weeks ago on one of the websites that I go to. I've forgotten it's called Adults in the Room. And so I'm just give the notice to the adults in the room. Thank you very much for tipping us off to this useful piece of information. So I'm going to make a quick video for the adults in the room. People, my son alerted, when I found out the adults in the room, started talking about COP28, and my son, who's Thai, goes to a Thai school, they learn about all what's going on. And he said down at his school, he's in the round about Form 7, he said that they're laughing down at the school over the COP28. He said that Saudi Arabia, of all nations to be hosting COP28, is about renewable energy, removing all fossil fuels from the entire planet, so they say, and moving into renewable fuels, saving the environment. The whole thing is it's the biggest scam. It's a worldwide scam. And just like Bernie Madoff, how hundreds and hundreds of people were scammed by Bernie Madoff, not only were they scammed, but entire countries were scammed out of all of their retirement funds, all of their countries' monies, and they're still paying the debt back of Bernie Madoff today. Well, this is just another Bernie Madoff scam, and it's called the COP28. Now, my son said that the reason why they're laughing is because Saudi Arabia makes all of their money, trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, off oil and gas. And he says, why on earth would they support any initiative that removed oil and gas? And not only that, my son said that some countries, he said, Zealandia, now New Zealand is actually a continent, Zealandia, and Zealandia was only discovered in the last, although it has been mentioned way back in the pre-1800s by Abel Tasman and all of that. And it's a huge continent, and being that it's a continent that's been under the earth for billions and billions of years, my son said, of course, it's steeped to the brim, and the Antarctica is steeped to the brim with oil and gas. And what some countries like Saudi Arabia and America do is that they pay other countries not to explore oil and gas so that they can keep the oil and gas going on in their countries while they're in the process of taking over our country of Zealandia that's got billions of trillions of dollars of oil and gas underneath it. So I want to show you the scam of the COP28. I've only got 10 minutes. We'll start with this is from the spin-off, and this was the original story. No. We'll go to the COP28, which is here. And here it just shows you the scam of the whole thing. This is the from Simon Watts of the National Statement for New Zealand. Now you'll notice here that he'll say New Zealand. Now what they've done over in New Zealand is that they've changed our country into two countries. One place is called Aotearoa, and one place is called New Zealand. And they're bringing in all these initiatives, and all these monies are going. It's being siphoned. They follow all the laws of New Zealand to make everything legal, and then once they get all the monies through New Zealand, they siphon it all offshore to this place called Aotearoa. And Aotearoa is somewhere in the Pacific, but we know not where. And you'll notice that they're always talking about Aotearoa, New Zealand. Sometimes they'll talk only of Aotearoa, sometimes they'll talk only of New Zealand, and sometimes they'll talk of Aotearoa, New Zealand. They've just recently, this COP28 group that sprung up in 2019, have just put this word Aotearoa on the map. because people were saying Aotearoa is not on the map. They have just recently added it onto the map and attached it to New Zealand. So it seems to me that it's probably a tiny little island off the coast of New Zealand where they're doing all sorts of nefarious things. Now, so he uses New Zealand. This gives it its legitimacy and its legal covenant to work through. Now, look here. This is what they're saying that the COP28 is to support the initiatives through billions and billions of dollars. It says here, global renewables and energy efficiency targets pledge. That's going to include billions of dollars pledged to something that we don't even know what it is. The COP28 Declaration on Climate and Health. This is taking away our national sovereignty. The Emirates Declaration on Sustainable Agriculture. The mutual recognition of certification schemes for renewable and low-carbon hydrogen and derivatives pledge, and the Gender Responsive Just Transition and Climate Action Partnership Pledge. We thank the UAE for hosting COP28, which has welcomed the largest number of stakeholders ever. Now, these are all set up by various religious organisations. I don't want to mention their names, but I will mention that Jehovah and the Latter-day Saints sprung up in New Zealand in the 1800s, and they were offshoot of a schism of the Roman Catholic Church over in France, and they operate out of the northern part of New Zealand in the Hokianga area. And what has happened, and what has happened always, is that they are taking this very small group of people and they're dragging everybody else in the country under them, and they're making decisions in foreign territories that drag us all under. Now, you'll see here, we thank the UAE for hosting COP28, which has welcomed the largest number of stakeholders ever. I'm joined by New Zealand's largest businesses, civil society presidents at COP. The commitment of New Zealand's from across all levels of government, the private sector, NGOs, iwi, Maori is clear. Now, what has happened is this tiny little small group are going over to foreign countries and making decisions. They're changing all our laws. They're putting in all sorts of laws, and we've had no say in any of this. Because what they did is they took a few group of our New Zealand Maori, they gave them all sorts of powers and told them that they owned the country, and they're getting them to sign up to all sorts of things with which the rest of New Zealand, Australia is all dragged under, even though we had no say in the things that they're signing up to. And it's come from the United Nations Indigenous BS that is basically saying that all these countries only belong to the couple of 100,000 natives of the country, never mind the millions and millions of Anglo saxon people that have lived in these countries for hundreds and hundreds of years. They have been shoved aside, and they've taken just these couple of 100,000 people. They take their very highest descendants of the paramount chiefs, and then they're taking them over to these countries, getting them to sign these documents and saying that they have the mandate of the country. They only can do that through the New Zealand laws. Now, as you can see here, these things are going to cost billions of dollars. These declarations are filled with thousands of laws that we did not sign up to, and they're going to cost New Zealanders a lot of money. So when I went over to the Adults in the Room website, this here came from this is what caught my attention. James Shaw has gone over to the COP28 in Dubai with the view of changing New Zealand to absolutely phase out, completely stop using any oils and any gases within our country, and to stop all drilling, all searches for oil and gas within our countries. Now, these people are all they do is that these higher up leaders pay these people billions of dollars to stop New Zealand or any of our countries investigating oil and gas so that they can keep the monopoly over there. And the people that are doing this are a handful of people quite happy to sell their souls for a couple of $1 million. So you can see here where they make the move from. Now they make this move from New Zealand, where all of the money of all of our taxpayers' money comes from. I've only got 10 minutes. So it's helpful that the group of countries, now we move into a group of countries. Now we've got John Kerry, we've got the Australian Climate Minister, Chris Bowen, we've got Steve Gilbolt of Canada, and we've got John Kerry. Now all of these belong or are affiliated to certain religious groups and you're not allowed to say what they are because otherwise you get called being anti-that. Anything to do with anti-that will be shut down. So you all should know what I'm talking about, the anti-that's. We'll just call it the anti-that's, won't we? Well, and then we've got also John Kerry from America. These guys have all teamed up and they're going over to Saudi Arabia, making deals about our country, taking away our national sovereignty through a tiny little group of Indigenous people. There are a lot of bigger fish to fry than New Zealand, so we didn't cop as much heat because the countries that are really holding up the agreement is Saudi Arabia, which is what my son's laughing about, because Saudi Arabia do not want a country like New Zealand that is swimming, absolutely, literally swimming in oil to enter the market. So they pay a few of these Indigenous people to stay out of the market, in my conspiracy theory. New Zealand's backtrack on banning, so they're going to ban offshore fossil fuel exploration. And there's one group of countries which is the Pacific Islands. Now, this is where they've added the Pacific Islands, and Shaw pointed to the powerful condemnation. Now, she is this Anne Rasmussen. She's just a plant to go in the opposing, but in fact, she is for all of this because she's getting paid billions of dollars. What they've done is attach the Pacific Islands onto New Zealand, right? And then the Pacific Islands have absolutely taken over our country. Now, who started the COP28? Well. It is 3 people, and they are called Aparama Edwards. He's doing the Antarctic peoples. So he's leading up. He's now encompassed all of us people to be called Antarctic peoples. Now, the Pacific Islands have got no stake in Antarctica, none whatsoever. And then I'll show you the map of where they have. I'll have to try and see if I can get the map. Hope I can get the map. I had it before and I think I've lost it. But anyway, I'll find it later and I'll bring it back to you if I can't find it. Now, this group here, now you can see it. This group here has just recently received $50 million investment from America. And then this group here only started up in 2019. And they have gone over to the COP28, and these 3 here have signed us up to all sorts of things that none of us ever agreed to behind our backs in secret talks. They opened this group called the Hene Moana Halo Ocean Fund. Now, they've accepted $50 million and to keep global warming. The countries that make up the Conference of Parties needed to agree on a phase out of fossil fuels. That hasn't happened. And then this is where they completely move us out of New Zealand, right? They're attached to New Zealand. They move us out of New Zealand into the Pacific nations, and they're calling New Zealand a Pacific nation, which we are not. We belong to Oceania, which is part of Australia and Antarctica, and the Pacific nations all belong to America. And these Pacific nations have attached on New Zealand because New Zealand is swimming in oil, and they've now called themselves Aotearoa. And they're a parasitic group attached onto New Zealand. There's something wacky about having to travel to Dubai to hear about potentially game-changing initiative. It is led by 3 Maori leaders, but the Hinemoana Halo Ocean Fund hasn't had a huge amount of press back home because they've had no press because they've hidden it. They've absolutely hidden it. And you see, this group will not mention New Zealand. They talk about Aotearoa and the Pacific. Lord knows where Aotearoa. Behind the Hinemoana Halo is Conversation Internationals, Aparama Edwards, Lisa Tumahai, and Mia Takakaka. And so they function for the Pacific Islands within, and now they're teamed up with, now let's see here. Scientists have, so now you'll see that they're not talking about New Zealand anymore. Scientists have said that Tuvalu may be uninhabitable by the end of the century, while Kiribati communities have had to move inland, but their governments have purchased 22 kilometres in Fiji to ensure that they have a refuge. Well, this is bullshit because Fiji is about to open a huge casino. And that's why they purchased it as their investment in this casino. And it's all done with New Zealand money. Carl Duart, one of the world's foremost climate scientists, has delayed his retirement, and he's establishing a series of baselines so the fund can accurately report back. Ralph Charmy of the IMF, and then the Blue-Green Future. This is just it's just a huge scam taking away our national sovereignty. The Hinemoana Fund for the New Zealand Maori has a plan of getting 100 million US dollars paid to their fund that was started up in 2000. It's basically they are selling New Zealand through this quasi place called Aotearoa to America and anybody else that will purchase it. It is a theft of our national sovereignty. These are evil, evil people. So all you've got to do is go to the Annex in the Room or go to the spin-off and you'll see these people. Now, it's supposed to be a 15-minute video. I've already gone over. I'll just quickly tell you the people. Here is, this is Aparama Edwards, and he just turned up in 2019. Have a listen.
Ko ngā maunga ka tūnei ka tāre hue mihi ana ki te whenua tangi ana ki ngā tāngata. Koro hihi pō, koro hihi au, korongo I tūria ki te matahau ātū. Tū te wini wini, tū te wana wana. Tū haka puta ina I te whei au, puta ki te ao marama. Ti he wā mauri ora. I acknowledge the origin of all that is. I acknowledge Rangi Nui, our Sky Father, Papa Tuanuku, our Earth Mother, and I acknowledge the people of the Arctic region.
So this is where they've dragged us from New Zealand to the Pacific, to Aotearoa, to the Arctic Circle, of which the Pacific has got no claim to, none whatsoever. The Antarctic Circle belongs to the English people, it belongs to Germany, actually Swabia, Germany. And if you look at the signal here that they've got, now this is the Jewish, from the Jewish group that turned up in New Zealand in the 1800s. They were a schism of the church. The 8 points represent the Roman Catholic Church, and the 6 points represent the 6 points of the Jewish stars joined together to take over the Antarctic Circle. So he calls us Pacific people. Now, the reason why he's calling us Pacific people is they're trying to drag all New Zealand people of Anglo descent under these tribal rulers. And they're all doing that with the support of America and Canada. They're putting all of us Anglo people under all the darkies, and then it's just a huge scam. And we're being put back into slavery. Now, this is Lisa Tumahai, and listen to her.
Whānau has been impacted by Cyclone Gabriel.
Now, she uses the word whānau. This is where, over in New Zealand, instead of people being referred to by their national birth to New Zealand, their national identity, they're just calling them all whānau, and they're attaching all the Pacific Islanders that are married to New Zealand people onto all the whānau or the families of the Pacific Islands, and that's another route that they're using to steal our national sovereignty of New Zealand. So they use these words Indigenous peoples, they use these words Antarctic peoples, and they use these words whānau, which means families of all of those people, and drag us under so that they're speaking for us when we don't have a table in the room. These are strong religious organizations, but the biggest person is this person, Mir Takako. Now you'll really see. She specializes in climate change and Indigenous tribal development, and is the founder of the Hinemoana Halo Ocean Initiative, which plans to get $100 million plus from America to sell out New Zealand. She's currently leading conservation and partnering with iwi Maori to deliver transformative meanings. Partnering means that she purchases them. She purchases their signatures. Indigenous-led ocean solutions for impactful actions for people in nature in Aotearoa, the Cook Islands, Tonga and Tahiti. Now this all goes back to the 1800s, where these people tried to steal New Zealand back then, and they're trying to steal New Zealand back now. Now let's look at all the people in their team. They're not New Zealanders. We've got Mark Ekman, is of the Asia Pacific group. He focuses on China, the Philippines, Timor-Leste, Papua New Guinea, New Caledonia, Samoa, and the Coral Triangle Initiative. And then he's the director of CL New Zealand. So this guy here he'll belong to some high up church, and he's really not. This is an attack on our national sovereignty. Emmeline Johansson, Asia Pacific again. She is focused. She was born to New Zealand, but just because she was born to New Zealand doesn't mean that she's a New Zealander. She could have been born of foreigners in one of the missionary churches and specifically raised to come in and take this seat here to take over. Scannell Van Diction, and this is a German group. He's involved with the Antarctica of Europe, Asia, and Oceania. Now, he is stealing Oceania. Now, this is where they mention Oceania. Oceania is New Zealand. Oceania does not include any of the Pacific Islands. It's only New Zealand. So they're taking over this is senior manager of Aotearoa, and she works with the Chinese and Pacific communities where they make decisions for New Zealand using the Pacific peoples as the signatories to what they want to do with our country of New Zealand. It's a theft of New Zealand. This is the New Caledonia, Fiji, Samoa, Timor-Leste, Aotearoa, New Zealand, and of Pacific. And then this is the Pacific Ocean. It's a theft, and the Pacific Islands and Aotearoa, where they completely dropped New Zealand, Samoan Ocean, and it's just a theft of our country, New Zealand. Kathy is from Papua New Guinea, and she's belongs to the USAID, Australia and New Zealand aid programs, where they're siphoning off billions of dollars of our money. She belongs to Caritas, which is a man from New Zealand. The man who started that was called Moana, or can't tell you right now, but I have done a video on this. So you can see here that none of these people are New Zealanders, none of them, but they've attached themselves on to Aotearoa in 2019, and they're making huge decisions and selling our country to foreign entities and selling our national sovereignty to these foreign entities. Now, I will tell you another thing about this team. I'll see if I can find it. It's called the Hini Moana Halo. And right, I'm going to have to maybe come back to you, because there was a map on here. So I'll come and do the part 2, because I'm not sure if I can find the map on here that I wanted to show you. But they are the Blue Pacific. It's just a theft of our national identity, but they did actually have a map, but I'm not able to find the map for you. So unfortunately, I would love to find this map. And you can see here that the Hina Moana Halo Ocean Initiative to Deliver Blue is by Sharm el-Sheikh of Egypt, today at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, Conservation International Aotearoa. New Zealand is dumped, launched the Hina Moana Ocean Initiative in partnership with Maori tribes. They've sold out our Maori tribes. They're stealing the country, and they're paying off our New Zealand Maori to sign up to documents that they have no understanding what they're signing up to, and selling out our country. And we in New Zealand have absolutely no power. There was a map on there, but I'll come back in and do a part 2 to show the map when I can find the damn thing. But it's all been run by Sharm el-Sheikh of Egypt and all of those countries. I wish I could find the map. Oh dear. Might be able to find it. I think I might be able to find it in here. It's all done in another language that we don't understand. I wonder if I could just go to the images, because there was a very important map of the place that it encompasses. So this is just a theft of our national sovereignty by these 3 people that turned up on the shores of New Zealand in 2019. They turned up and set up this organisation to siphon off all of the oils of Antarctica. And while they're transferring all of our lands and all of the lands of Antarctica that discovered it, but while they're transferring all of that, they're stopping all oil exploration and all of that, while they transfer our entire nations over to these foreign nations of who we know not what they are. So it's I'm going to stop the video now, because I'm only supposed to be 10 minutes. I'll see you later, but I'm going to look for this map and I'll show you the map later.